Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government and organised labour locked in negotiation for over 5 hours on the implementation of the new national minimum wage. Meeting between INEC officials and stakeholders in Yenagoa ahead of the governorship election in Bayelsa State turns rowdy. President Buhari restates call for the unity of the country as he launches the 2020 Armed Forces Remembrance Emblem at the Presidential Villa. And Turkish President Recep Erdogan vows to continue the Syria offensive until his mission to create a safe zone in the north of the country is accomplished. And for more information on our top stories and others, do visit our websites, channelstv.com. youtube.com/channelsweb has videos of all our shows. Members of the Metropolitan Club have been asked to do more in laying a better governance structure in the country. The guest lecturer at the club's 60th anniversary celebration in Lagos, Professor Wale Adebanwi, says the mistake of the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates that form the entity Nigeria remains a bane to development. The task ahead is for the elite to redefine the socio-political space and correct the system of indirect rule imposed on Nigeria and Africa by Lord Lugard. Our correspondent Gimba Umar reports.
The capacity-filled hall had all the trappings of what a united Nigeria should be. All attending a coordinated cocktail that welcomes everyone for the 60th anniversary celebration of one of Nigeria's most prestigious association of gentlemen. Captains of industry, judicial luminaries, members of the diplomatic corps, the ends of the accounting profession, bank executives, media moguls, as well as very distinguished members of the Metropolitan Club. A member of the Board of Trustees, Ambassador Oladapo Fafowora, reads the citation of the guest lecturer, a professor of race relations at the University of Oxford in the UK. The core of his lecture centers on the indirect rule system imposed on Nigeria out of a sheer subjectivity of Lord Lugard in 1914.
Lugard wanted Africans trapped in their past. And where that past didn't exist in the manner that was serviceable to his imperial imagination, he invented some traditions and cloaked them in the garment of the past. Lugard held back those who wanted to move forward and pull others along to modernity. He pushed back the bearers of the Enlightenment ideals and imposed tortifying ordinances that slowed human progress and weakened the foundations necessary for building a progressive modern polity in this part of Africa.
The path to Nigeria's modernity was truncated as it continues to seek a way out after many years of independence. The guest lecturer posted the question: can Nigeria self-govern?
You, the elite, have a crucial role to play in this. Though as a corporate group, the Metropolitan Club is unique and particular, but you are also part of a national elite that is moving towards national suicide with worrying keenness. It is regrettable that even some of the most progressive factions of the national elite formation are failing to link imagination with conviction and are often mistaking perspective for perception. In light of this, and as one of the most enlightened groups of the Nigerian elite formation, again I say to you that you have a pivotal role to play. You don't need the multitude to rethink the direction of history. The multitude is needed in the final stage of the execution of a new political order. The strategic thinking and strategic planning is the work of a few. Throughout human history, it is the few, often the elite of any socio-political formation, who identify or understand or are thrust onto the context of what Matt Weber described as elective affinity. In the Nigerian context, that elective affinity is between disorder and the need for a new order.
A standing ovation heralds a well-delivered speech that reveals the catastrophic impact on Nigeria and Africa caused by Lord Lugard and how to remedy the conundrum.
We can, as individuals and as a collective, present our ideas and make suggestions to them. That is the minimum that we can do and that we should do. We can also, because we are people of influence as well, we have platforms and podiums on which we can stand and express ourselves candidly so that they can hear.
The launch and lecture came to a close with a puzzle for the minds of all those present at the occasion of the 60th anniversary of the Metropolitan Club of Gentlemen, for they will be judged by generations yet unborn, now that they hold a golden opportunity to correct the hurt and injustices meted on Nigeria by Lord Lugard, which they say may be the reason for the retrogression of our people. Gimba Umar for Channels Television News.
Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Markwe Ogun Yusuf. Markwe.
Hello, Ijoma. It's good to see you, and we welcome our viewers to Abuja. The federal government has reduced the number and duration of foreign trips for ministers and other categories of government officials as it begins implementation of what it calls cost-saving measure to achieve fiscal prudence. A statement from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation says the President also removed travel allowances known as Esther Code, while he also cut down the number of persons permitted to travel with ministers and other government officials for official trips. The President, however, approved the use of business class for ministers and economy for lower categories of government officials. Approval for such trips must be sought through the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation or the head of the Civil Service of the Federation. The statement said, quote, in a bid to curb leakages and ensure efficiency in the management of resources of government, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved for immediate implementation additional cost-saving measures aimed at instilling financial discipline and prudence, particularly in the area of official travels. The statement adds that only trips that would benefit the country must be embarked upon by officials, and that ministers and other categories of government officials must not travel more than twice within a quarter of a year, except with the permission of the President. The House of Representatives Committee on Air Force is planning to meet with the United States Congress Committee on Air Force on a Super Tucano aircraft, which Nigeria paid for last year. The chairman of the committee revealed this during its inaugural meeting, which had in attendance the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. The Chief of Air Staff, in his submission, revealed that the Air Force has flown about 65,000 hours across the country in the last 5 years to ensure security, and over 21,000 hours in the Northeast alone. Our correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
Since the adjournment of plenary to the 29th of October, different committees of the House of Representatives have been holding meetings. The Committee on Youth Development is one of such committees. Members of the committee are not oblivious of the importance of youths in a fight against insecurity.
Bringing the youth together means bringing Nigeria together. And so, because any nation that disdains its youth is a disdain of its future.
No old man will be an armed robber. No old man is a kidnapper. And even in the proper and legal agitation, most times it is the youth that takes lead of it.
If we get government to support their initiative in having tech hubs and startup innovation hubs, and probably we would reduce the issue of unemployment and invariably, or by extension, going to reduce the issue of insecurity.
Another committee is that on Air Force, which has invited the Chief of Air Staff to brief the committee on strides attained in the fight against insecurity and requirements ahead of the budget's defense.
I want to assure this House and the Air Force management team that by next year, January, we are going to engage the U.S. Congress Committee on Air Force on our Super Tucanos. I will promise ourselves we are going to do something to get our platforms.
The NAF is currently engaged in 6 major operations within Nigeria. In the last 5 years or thereabout, we have flown about 65,000 hours. We have flown about 64,996 hours. Out of this number of hours, we have flown about 21,912 hours in the Northeast alone.
The Chief of Air Staff praises Parliament for passing the Air Force Institute of Technology Bill.
If everything you require, you have to ask for spare parts outside, then it means those that are giving you those spares, if they don't want to give you, they can ground you. But with the Air Force Institute of Science and Technology in place, we believe that that will help us to build the required capacity to be able to address some of the aircraft maintenance difficulties that we are facing.
With a deadline of 29th October for budget defense, lawmakers are expected to expedite the process while ensuring a thorough job is done. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
In the eastern part of the country, a petrol tanker has exploded in the Opiweka axis of Onitsha in Anambra State after falling off its lane, killing a woman and her child in the process. No fewer than 40 buildings, ranging from 2-story to 4-story buildings, were also razed in the explosion. Over 500 lock-up shops were also gutted by the fire along the Iweka Street Market, leading to Ochanja and Menax Market. The tanker's head reportedly fell off and went up in flames after spilling its content within the area. Governor Willie Obiano, who's been to the scene of the incident, commiserates with the families of those affected and traders who've lost their wares. As the 10 returns, the International Monetary Fund recommends tax revenues reforms to tackle Nigeria's debt repayment challenge. That's on Business News. Do join us again.